Hello, everyone. Welcome to the newest season layout of the Bandwagon Fan. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kate, and
Kate,
we are excited to be here.
we're so excited.
It's a whole new world out here.
It's a whole new world. All right, that's done.
That
I'm never singing again on here.
that wasn't even enough for us to actually judge you accurately. But you know what? You and I, we are a modern, we are a modern, very white Aladdin and Jasmine.
Yeah, we
And for the listeners who don't know, Alex and I actually are dating. We are a real life couple.
are we the first couple on the Bandwagon Fan podcast? Is that what this is?
I think so, unless AJ and Josh start dating. But yeah, no, we're historic. We're the first. And in case people didn't know, yeah, we are together, and Alex lives in Los Angeles and I live in New York City, and we make it work. You can ask all your questions in the comments of whatever platform you're listening to. Um, but yeah, you better believe it. We're a couple.
Better believe it. We've been rocking this for a bit and doing that East Coast West Coast rivalry. I'm the big Tupac fan, and we've got what you got the Biggie Smalls fan over here.
Yeah, I like both of them, and that makes me a Midwesterner.
Actually,
Um,
you should. I feel like you should tell like the coolest story with your Nas story. Don't you have an interesting East Coast rap thing that you did?
it's a very long story, but let's just say I visited New York City once and I stayed at an Airbnb, and somehow I got invited to a refrigerator, a luxury refrigerator and kitchen appliance party, and somehow Nas ended up being the special guest.
Which is like just the coolest thing I've ever heard.
It was, I think it was a very New York experience. But speaking of couples, just some real quick current events, happy news is that the beloved Britney Spears is finally remarried.
She got married.
Yay, Britney!
Woo!
Yes, she's actually been dating this guy for a really long time. His name is Sam Asghari. I'm 99% sure he's Persian because my cousin who's Persian was like, woohoo, they're going to have the most beautiful babies. So, which I'm sure they will.
Good for them. And also, like, I just feel like everything's just been looking up for Britney Spears lately, and I'm really happy for her.
Yeah, I think this is her fairy tale. And I mean, which is funny too, because I think like for her wedding, she actually was in like a Cinderella type carriage, and she's smiling in all the pictures, and she looks genuinely happy. So very happy for Britney.
Was
And
it
also
Madonna
she
there
had,
too?
yeah, Madonna was
Yeah.
there, Selena Gomez, Drew Barrymore, Paris Hilton, and then oh my gosh, that lady, that Italian lady, Donatella Versace, I think.
Like
So
the Versace.
yes, and then there
Ooh.
was this really funny video of all of those women singing Vogue, Madonna's song. Um, but it's just so funny because it's like not all of them are obviously trained singers, so it just kind of sounds like five random or six random women singing a Madonna song. But it's funny that one of them is actually Madonna. But also, okay, so I watched the clip a few times, and Britney Spears has that look on her face like she has no idea what's going on and doesn't know what song it is, isn't singing along, but it's just kind of smiling. And it's the most Britney Spears thing to do.
That's actually kind of cute because it's like I feel like we're so used to seeing Britney Spears as you know like one of the best performers of like the past couple of decades, and you forget like that's all planned and trained. And I like to see
Yeah,
like a human moment from artists, and that's really
it's
sweet.
cute. Yeah, I feel like she had that look on her face when like a dog this sounds really bad, but when like a dog is around its owner and like a bunch of people, all the humans are like super happy and like doing something that only humans understand, and the dog doesn't really understand what's going on, but the dog is like soaking in the joy in the moment in the room, and your dog is like smiling at you, and like it's like they have no clue what's going on, but they're just so happy because they can tell that all their people around them that they love is happy. And I feel like that's how Brittany looked. Like she just looked like so happy that everyone else was happy, and it was adorable.
That's such a cute moment. I
Yeah.
feel like there's been a lot of artists in the news lately, but some moments that maybe aren't so cute.
Oh
Have
no.
you heard about any of the recent social media things happening with TikTok? Heard any of that drama?
Not really. I have tried to keep my life as TikTokless as possible.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably usually a good sign, but there's been a decent amount of artists lately uh, talk complaining about record labels kind of forcing them to use TikTok for content. And there's been kind
Oh.
of like two sides to it where it's like a lot of people now discover music through TikTok, which is kind of
Mm.
cool. That like there's a new platform for it. But the human side that we don't really think about is it's like, does an artist want to film themselves on TikTok every single day and have to think of constant content? And Halsey, it was like, explaining like her disdain for TikTok recently. And I kind of get it because it's like she probably wants to focus on just like creating music and not having to figure out basically how to like blog her life every day. And like
Oh
with
yeah,
TikTok,
definitely.
yeah, and with TikTok, it's kind of confusing, because you have to be like on top of whatever trend is going on.
Well, I feel like the point of social media should be that the person who has the account should want to have that account, should want to make content. And I think that people who like TikTok, they like Instagram, they like Twitter, they like those things because they're choosing to be on there. They want to create something. And if you're a musician and you also want to make TikToks and you think that's fun, then that's great. But it's like if you're a musician and you think of yourself as like, like a artist in that sense, then it's like you're like making somebody do something that is not their art. If her art is writing music and coming up with songs and recording and touring, it I would be pissed too. I feel like it'd be like if somebody was a Olympic rower, and then you're saying, well, because you're an Olympiad and you're really good at rowing, we really want you to also get good at the high jump. So you got to learn that too. But they're like, but I am a rower. I'm not a high jumper. But they're like, nah, but you're still an Olympiad. So you should probably learn the other one too. And you're
You'd be
like,
like, come on, you can do
no.
both.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing. I feel like these record labels are probably like, you can do both. You can make TikToks and do your normal job of making music. And I feel like for those who want to do it, that should be a choice. And for those who don't, like they shouldn't have to.
I agree. I think there needs to be less, not that TikTok needs to go away, but there needs to be less pressure on creating content for TikTok. And I think like fans, like true fans are going to be able to spot like something that's being forced. It's like if
Hmm.
Halsey wants to make a TikTok, make that TikTok, but like don't feel like you have to. I think that's the moral of the story. And I think that goes with like anyone, like, like whether you're a creator or not, like don't force yourself to use social media if you hate using social media all the time. Like it's okay to take breaks from the internet, ironically, as we're on the internet talking about things on the internet.
I
But we
know.
want to be here. We want to
But
be here.
I think if you don't want to have social media, if you don't have accounts, whatever, do it. We need more people who are revolutionaries. I feel like all these like books and movies like to make movies about like the future of like the apocalypse and post-apocalyptic worlds, or even if there's no apocalypse, like what is the future going to look like, or like what was that movie that came out recently that was also a book about the kids who like play video games and everything's like virtual reality?
Oh, Ready Player One.
Yes, like Ready Player One, like that future world and stuff like that. And like I imagine in like the far, far away future, a world where there's going to be like the people who are almost like the modern day Amish people. Like they'll probably still have technology, but like no social media. Because I feel like when you meet someone like that nowadays, like I was at a bar recently in San Francisco and like met this group of guys, and one of the guys was like, I don't have any social media. And it's like, whoa, what the heck? Like people like you exist.
It's unheard of.
And it's almost unheard of. It's like so rare. But like that's the thing. I'm hoping in like 100, 200 years from now, like that would be like so cool. There's going to be like, I'm calling them the new Amish. Okay. They're the new Amish of the future. I don't even
I
know what's going to happen to the regular Amish. Gosh.
The regular Amish are gonna keep doing their own thing, and maybe they're not even gonna be aware that any of the social media stuff's happening. We'll be in like web. We're in like Web 2 basically right now, so we're gonna be in like Web 7 at that
And
point.
Johnny
What?
is still plowing the fields with no tractor
Yeah, with me
and
just
just
with
a
his bare
cow.
hands.
And we're like, let's make a TikTok of Johnny filming or of Johnny growing tomatoes. And he's like, what's a TikTok?
What's a TikTok? It won't even be TikTok at that point. It'll be a new platform called like
Rick Rock.
Rick Rock. Okay, so that proves that like hundreds of years later or whatever this timeline is, we've also ran out of creative ideas. So like we're just
And Rick
taking,
Ross has become king.
yes, Rick Ross is taking over everything because what's the Wingstop, which he has like
Wingstop.
hardcore ownership in, has taken off so much that Rick Ross now has more money than the U.S. government, which is a bad example because there's
And
not much money
everybody
there.
gets subsidized chicken. They're like, instead of like subsidized money from the government, everyone gets subsidized chicken wings. Okay,
And
we're building such a crazy world right now, which, speaking of crazy worlds, which Alex and I are very good at imagining such scenarios, today's episode, we're going to talk about other people who have created the most crazy world that kind of sounds like the one that we're talking about. We're going to talk about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
dun
Woo!
dun dun.
I was waiting for like, this is the moment we need sound effects.
Yeah, this is where we
Cheers.
need to like our insert laugh track or the
Insert
clap thing
clapping.
where it's like yay. There we go.
Yay! I know this
There's my
isn't
delayed
YouTube, but
there's my delayed clap track. Everything Everywhere All at Once is such a wild film. Man, it's like this is just such a cool movie. Um and like before we dive into a lot of it, like I just feel like Hakate and I were like brainstorming our random like uh Rick Ross story. I swear, like I feel like this is how they like. I feel like this is how the writers of this movie started. They just started throwing random ideas together. If you don't know,
honestly,
yeah, the it's written and directed. I can't talk.
directed.
Yeah, directed.
They
It's
were like, "Hey, you director some, and I'll director some too."
yeah,
Because
the
there's two of them.
director,
There's two directors.
and they're called the Daniels. It's Dan Kwan, and Daniel. I'm gonna butcher his last name.
It's like Shiner.
Yeah, Shiner or something. My apologies, but these two guys, this is their second film, um, and if you've seen their original film, you'll see a lot of influences and familiarity with Swiss Army Man, which was the really wild movie of Daniel Radcliffe being a farting dead guy. Um, Kate, did you watch that movie?
I have not seen that movie, and every time you've mentioned that movie, the only thing you've ever mentioned is the farting corpse,
Well, it's
and
because I
that
don't
is
want to
it.
spoil it. And it's like it's such a wild film, but I feel like when you watch that, like that movie has a bunch of like ridiculous subjects that kind of like eventually bring into a lot of really like serious themes about life and other topics that are for another
Hmm.
day. But I just think like these directors do really, really well at taking like a very random style of comedy and somehow like addressing very, very like major themes in it. Like
Hmm.
this movie's got everything. Like what we got like
Are you gonna
nihilism.
do a Stefan moment now? This movie has everything:
Yeah, this movie has
bagels,
everything.
Elvis costumes, laundromats,
Wait, actually, let's do it. How many more can you bring? Hot dogs,
hot dogs,
fingers,
fingers, hot dog fingers.
hot dog fingers,
It's so crazy.
rocks.
Rocks, googly eyes. It's got everything. It's got everything. This movie, I feel like, okay, actually, speaking of this movie feels like it could be for everyone. There's everybody could find something in it they like. But I also think this movie is not for everyone because I think there's a lot of people who would also watch this movie and go, this is too wild. This is too crazy. I don't understand. It's confusing. It's stupid. Or they might think certain scenes are dumb and give up on the movie or think the whole thing's dumb. But I don't know. I recently saw it for a second time with some friends who'd never seen it. And I didn't even try to explain it to them, but I did tell them, I was like, it is going to probably blow your mind. Most likely, it'll most likely blow your mind or it'll confuse you. And lo and behold, by the end of it, all three of my friends were kind of like a little bit dazed eyed and like, what did I just watch? And I mean, I felt like that too the first time I saw it, but it's just interesting to know that like this movie has got a lot going on and we're going to do our best to explain it. But some people might love it and some people might not.
And I think that's the really cool thing with cinema, and especially with this film. I felt like I've only seen it once, but I felt like when I watched this film, I left and I was like, "Are we in a new wave of cinema now?" You know, like you've got like your '60s like French noir, and then you've got like your cool like '90s Tarantino style crime movies. And I feel like every like decade or year kind of has like a
Hmm.
specific style of film that takes over. And right now we're kind of in the multiverse films, and
Yeah.
it's like we had this and Doctor Strange kind of come out around the same time. But I feel like the way this movie was structured, I just hadn't seen. I don't feel like I'd seen like many or really any films like this. Can you really?
Hmm.
Did you really? Do you feel like you watched this and you were like, oh, this instantly reminds me of so and so?
Not exactly. I think that one of the things about this movie that is kind of reminiscent is I don't know if you remember for a while there was that trend of making movies that had multiple storylines at once. Like there was Valentine's Day. They also made New Year's Eve. Then there's the He's Just Not That Into You.
Would Crazy
And
Love
there's
count? Is that what it's called? Or no, not
Crazy Stupid Love,
Crazy Stupid Love. Yeah,
um Cloud Atlas, movies where you have different things happening all at once that are building up to all come together. But usually I feel like those movies all are like different storylines and different characters all having their own issues. This movie kind of felt like that idea of like, let's have a lot going on at once, but not having different characters that we're switching between. It's like so many different parts. This movie feels like a million moving parts all at everything all at once
everywhere.
and everywhere. And it's like you really have to pay attention when watching this movie, but also you kind of just have to sit back and relax, and it's going to explode on the screen for you. And you know, I think that like see, this is the thing. I feel like we can speculate like this about this movie for so long without getting into any details, because it's almost like daunting to be like, okay, where do you start with this movie? But I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Let's do our best to explain this plot because it's a lot, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of me too that's like this is one of those films where it's like I don't even think we need to literally dive into everything because I want a lot of people that have not seen this film to be very like surprised and excited by what they see, whether they agree or not with it. Um,
Hmm.
but I think the main two characters of this film are very, very interesting. And I'm totally drawing a blank on. Oh, yeah. So it's Waymond. So there's a husband, Waymond, and then there's his wife, Evelyn Wang. And they're both like just Chinese American couple. Like, it doesn't really say their age, right? But I feel like they're probably in their 50s. Does that
They
seem
look
right?
like, yeah, 50s.
Yeah. And they're basically like running a laundromat together, and it's very obvious that it's like a failing laundromat. And like the
Hmm.
first couple of scenes of the film, I feel like just show you so much stress in their lives. Like when I was
Hmm.
watching it, I was just like, I feel kind of like like when I watched Uncut Gems, like I just felt anxious, and I
Uncut
could just see like,
Gems.
yeah, Uncut Gems. I could see like the tension in them, and I don't know, is that like something that you
Yeah.
kind of felt from the beginning?
Yes. I mean, I haven't seen the movie Uncut Gems, but
Mhm.
I think that the movie does cause. I think that's the whole kind of the point is like they're setting up that it's like, look at this couple's life. They are so stressed out. They have a million unfinished projects all over their apartment. They have food cooking on the stove, overboiling. Their kitchen table is filled with paperwork as they're being audited by the IRS. They've got a laundromat downstairs with customers coming in and out. The machine that turns the dollars into coins is broken. The ceiling's leaking. Evelyn's dad from China, who barely speaks any English, has come to visit. They're trying to throw a Chinese New Year party. You know, their house is just a mess, and they look like two very unhappy people. And they also have a daughter who you can also tell has a lot of resentment against her parents, and she's a very unhappy person. And this whole intro of the movie is just kind of showing you like, wow, these people's lives basically suck, and like what is going to happen, because there's also kind of like this, you can kind of feel this like menacing aura growing in the movie. It's like something is going to happen, something bad is going to happen, like everything looks bad in their lives, but like there's just this feeling that like the pressure is growing, and when's it going to pop?
Yeah, and I feel like that pressure really pops when um really when they go visit the IRS building for the first time. Like they
Mm-hmm.
go to the IRS, you know, to like go through their taxes, and they meet Jamie Lee Curtis's character, which is was it Deidre? Deidre?
Deidre.
Deidre. She
Deidre.
is Deidre. Whatever. I can't say names, and I'm kind of used to it. But I just feel like the second, um, like we don't need to jump into all the details here, but I'm like the second they meet her, this film just starts slowly getting weirder and weirder and weirder.
Well, because they
Um,
don't only meet Deidre, they also meet an alternate universe version of Waymond, and he comes into Evelyn's life and tells her, "You need to save the universe. It's up to you. Here's some crazy instructions. Watch your back. Don't trust anybody." And it's like all of that happens at once. It's like and that's the thing. This whole movie actually takes place in the IRS building.
which kind of goes to how crazy this movie is. Like you look at the effects, and I thought it was some of like the coolest effects I've ever seen in a film. And I looked it up after this budget was only $25 million, and I feel like it's probably because they stay in the IRS building for most of the film. Like they don't have to
Probably.
change locations, but yeah, basically it's just like a joywind of craziness once Waywin's
Waymond?
other Wayman when Wayman's other person comes through, and they call him Alpha Wayman, and he
Mm-hmm.
claims that he's from a multiverse called the Alphaverse, and it's just nuts. I just feel like the second I saw all the craziness in this movie, I was like, we're in for a treat, and
Yes.
I'm just gonna have
And
to
we're
buckle up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like this movie is very like, okay, buckle up, because from this moment on, it's craziness, and it really does become unpredictable. There's so many ups and downs. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. But the long story short is there is a evil villain going around the universes, the multiverse, killing off different universes, and it's through watching this movie you find out that in an alternate universe, their daughter Joy is this evil villain named Jobu Tupaki, and you think, okay, she's this evil villain, she's killing people, she seems heartless, she looks kind of dead inside, and it's through Evelyn and Alpha Waymond trying to escape and evade her, but also fight her off, that we get to see them do this thing called alpha verse jump, or not alpha verse, it's verse jumping, where they
Yeah,
can
verse jumping.
basically get the skills of a different universe version of themselves. An alternate universe version that has maybe skills like kung fu or opera singing or whatnot.
And they have to do
And
really
you
wacky
know,
things to be able to verse jump. Like where it starts
yes.
out like wearing your shoes incorrectly, but then they start just doing really goofy stuff that just like gets crazier and crazier each time.
Yeah, and the whole point of it is it's like you have to do something that's unpredictable, something that is not normal, and that's what enables you to verse jump to get these skills. But there is so many ups and downs, so many funny moments. This movie is also just like littered with references to other films, whether it's like direct references of like quotes or visuals or cinematographic scenes,
Like
cinematography.
cinematography, yeah, like you can
Yeah.
if you've watched there's a lot of like there's a lot of Chinese film influences in this, especially like Wong Kar Wai. I just felt like a lot of shots where they had like green colors and like characters like smoking outside in like specific multiverses. It looked like In the Mood for Love, and I thought that was like a
Hmm.
really cool representation of
Hmm.
his films without like directly saying Wong Kar Wai. There's
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like this is a movie where if you like rewatch it multiple times, like you're going to pick up something new each time. I would
Hmm.
remember you had something that you discovered about Jobu's character, like Tupaki, like with her
Yeah.
last name.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the significance is, but I guess I thought it was Jobu Tupaki with a B, but apparently her name is Jobu Tupaki, like Tupac. And let's see. I mean, yeah, there's so many movie references. Like there's some scenes in one universe, that is very Wong Kar-wai films in the Mood for Love theme kind of visuals. Then, there's also an alternate universe where the main character is a kung fu master, and that is all kind of based off of the Kill Bill movie series where Uma Thurman's character, is training to become a kung fu master herself.
which was so
And
fun.
there's so many other just little things. I mean, the actor Ko Hui Kwan, who plays the husband Wayman, he was a child actor and did The Goonies and Indiana Jones.
He did Slick
And
Shoes. Slick Shoes. It's my
yes, and
favorite character in the Goonies.
he he had like a little tool belt in The Goonies, and he's got a fanny pack in this one, and it's like, people think that's a little homage. And um I mean, that's just all the different little influences and references. I think there's also a lot of references to like the Matrix. It's very like, what is going on in this universe, what is going on in other universes, what is reality. The bad guy in the Matrix is so mysterious for a while. The bad guy in this movie, Jobu Tupaki, is also very mysterious. And how this movie resolves is also not how you would expect. It's not your typical bad guy movie, and it's not your typical resolution either. There's, and that's the other thing too. I think a lot of people are like, okay, what is this movie? I think number one, it's an action movie, but then there was parts where I was like, oh, this is like kind of like romance. And then
Yeah.
other times it was like, oh, this is drama and family drama. And
See, I think it's a family movie,
it's a family
disguised
movie,
as an
and yet don't let your kids watch this
yeah.
maybe.
I think it's like a family movie disguised as an action film. I just think like some of the themes that I got out of it was like basically like happiness is one of the most important things in life, and if you're not happy, then nothing else matters. But also like family or whoever you consider your family is like what's the most important thing is like who you spend your time with. And but like I feel like when you first start this movie, you almost think like this is going to be like a superhero action extravaganza, and I didn't know where things were going. But like they talk a lot about like yeah, like romance, generational trauma. Um, there's this bagel, which I don't want to dive too much into, but it kind of gave me a lot of like nihilistic themes of like believing that life is meaningless. So it's like you've got like these characters that like see life as nothing, and then you have these other characters that are
Hmm.
fighting to like basically like acknowledge that like all of their failures in life have helped make them into the person they are today, and that like every impact in your life does have
Hmm.
purpose and
And
choice.
that's
And
my
I thought that was
honestly,
a cool
that's my
duality.
favorite. That's my favorite type of movie and story. I love
Yeah.
stories where it's like every little action is causing a chain reaction that causes every other action in your life. And they talk about that in the movie. It's like because you chose, to move to another city versus maybe stay in one city, or maybe you chose to move to New York City rather than to move to Chicago. It's like every course of action that you take, every like big thing can affect your life. The little things don't really matter, what you had for lunch that day, a sandwich versus a salad, whatever, maybe that doesn't affect you. But it's, sometimes it can be as little as what time you chose to leave the house could maybe affect the train that you missed, but then maybe you missed that train and you meet someone, and that someone becomes someone big in your life. But if you hadn't have left your house, if you had left your house on time, maybe you would have never met that person and gotten on that regular train. And I love stories like that. I love stories where it's like life is just this kind of chaotic mess, but at the same time there are all these little paths within it. um, and there was another thing that in this movie I didn't really think about it till I read an article where there's a lot of like yin and yang representation, that like you kind of sometimes need good and you need bad, you need chaos and you need order. And the two main characters, they're husband and wife, and it's like their life at the beginning, they're clearly unhappy with each other. Evelyn is really like depressed and pessimistic, and
It's like
stressed
work
out.
is the only thing in her life. There's like nothing outside
Yeah.
of that.
Work is the only thing in her life, but also her life is just work, and she feels like she has no life. Whereas her husband Waymond, it's like when you are someone like Evelyn who's had like a quote hard life and you can look at it with a negative lens, there's her husband Waymond who seems to always be like laughing, dancing, being funny, making jokes, putting googly eyes on things to be funny. And it's like, how does he, who's married to this woman and they've had kind of the same life experiences, instead his lens is more positive and more jokey and more fun. And it's just an interesting movie about like, yeah, yin and yang, and um I don't know, yeah, making sense of life. And the friends that I saw it with also said for them it was like very largely the idea of generational trauma was talked about because, you know, Evelyn's father's in town. Evelyn has issues with her daughter. And I know that also for a lot of like Asian American families, there's like issues with like tiger parents and expectations and, you know, being a new generation and how does that fit in with like family tradition, cultural tradition.
Yeah,
And my
my
friend,
old roommate, who is Filipino, said that like basically all the family arguments in this film, he was like, this is very very accurate to um,
mm-hmm,
like a lot of Asian American families, and that's like something that I wouldn't have caught on as much, you know, as a very very white person from Wisconsin. But I
mm-hmm,
think yeah, it was like it was. I think it's good to see films that maybe put you a little out of your comfort zone and also
mm-hmm,
maybe isn't something that you directly relate to for everything.
mm-hmm. Well, I think, and that's why we were talking about how this movie has a little bit of everything for everyone. Because, like, even though you and I are not Asian, there were still other things in this movie that like made me think about uncomfortable thoughts. Like, there's a line when the Alpha verse Waymond is talking to Evelyn, and she's going, "Why me? Like, why are you picking me to be this hero, save the world? Like, I'm nobody. I'm nothing." And he actually tells her, yeah, that's actually why I'm picking you, because you kind of are a nobody and you are nothing and you did absolutely nothing in your life. And every chance you had to pursue something and make something of yourself, you quit or you failed or you gave up or you didn't even try, and you just consistently settled. You constantly settled. And I remember the first time I saw this movie, that like that scene, you know, kind of made me like do like some like silent tears, because it's like, holy shit, like you're looking in the mirror at yourself and going, oh my God, like what is my life? What have I made out of my life? Because you see all these alternate versions of Evelyn where she is a movie star, kung fu, a chef, a this, a that, something like quote great. Um, and I think there's a lot of pressure in society that like you're supposed to like do something with your one life, you know, your one precious life. And there's a lot of pressure, but then there's also a lot of like self hate when you feel like you aren't doing quote enough.
I think it's
Um,
okay to be normal at a lot of things and, you know, just like have good friends and have good family. And I got that
mhm,
out of it. It's like I do a lot of photography, and it's like after watching this, I was like, I don't need to be the best photographer that's ever existed. And that's never going to
mhm,
be attainable or even realistic, you know, but like
mhm.
I can enjoy photography. And I think that's an important thing, but I need to have like a realistic
Yeah.
standard with it, you know?
And you have a positive lens. And I feel like that's honestly, I think how we could close out this movie is it's kind of like, I think one of the biggest things in life, it is, okay, it's life is when you make it, but then also what is your lens? And that's I think some of the biggest takeaways from this movie. Um, I really enjoyed watching it, Alex. I think you did too.
Oh yeah, I loved this film. It's very long, so keep that in mind. Um, but I feel like it does go by pretty fast.
Yes, it is a wild roller coaster, but it
And
is worth riding.
seriously, check it out. Like, you know, I hope the themes we talked about like encourages you to, you know, do awesome things with your own life, but also like have realistic expectations on things. But I also hope it like encourages you to check out the film and tell us, you know, you can tell us whether you thought it was trash or not. I think I'd give this. I think I'm still sticking with like a 5 out of 5 on this film.
I think I'm going to do a 5 out of 5 too. My second viewing, I think I did that thing where I'm kind of self conscious that I'm like sharing it with friends, and I'm hoping, oh my God, what are they thinking? So I'm watching it with a more critical lens because I've already seen it. But my first time seeing it, I was mind blown. And yes, I think everybody Check it out. Check it out, people. Come on.
Check it out.
And if
Me and
this is the new
Kate.
wave of cinema, I'm excited to see what's to come.
Me too. Me and Kate over here giving films 5 out of 5s. We're gonna be doing that every podcast. Uh,
Eh,
I'm
not
just
five out
kidding.
of
We're
fives every
no,
podcast,
I
but
I feel like you and I rarely give 5s, so this is a pretty big thing. But yeah, seriously, like thanks for checking out the podcast. Like we hope you like the new format. We've got multiple people doing different forms of content now, so we're not just gonna always be talking about Marvel films each
or
time
Disney.
or Disney. Maybe we'll talk about it every now and then, but make sure to check out the other episodes coming out soon and give us a shout out. Remember, we're the bandwagon fan. We hope you hop on the bandwagon with this one.
Yes, please get on this bandwagon fan. Get on this. Be a fan of the Everything Everywhere all at once. Support middle-aged Asian actors making their cinematic comebacks.
Yes,
Please.
especially that one.
Okay, well, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.